President Obama announced in his big speech last night immigration reform. Let me tell you everything that you need to know about it. I'll break it down here. Think Progress reports, quote, "The executive order will affect around 4.9 million undocumented immigrants, including the some 4.1 million immigrants whose children already have legal status. Obama will also expand a program for undocumented immigrants who came here as children. If each of these individuals apply and are accepted into the Executive Action Program, they will be temporarily sheltered from deportation and they would become eligible to work." So, that's the heart of the bill right there. That's it. So now you know when people try to attack this and say it's radical and it's crazy, that's it. What I just named right there, that's it. And we already knew some of that stuff anyway because there were the leaks about this a few days ago. Quote, "They have to have been here 5 years and have no criminal record." They continue, "Immigrants who have been convicted of an aggravated felony, have any felonies, 3 separate misdemeanors, or have been convicted of a serious crime are ineligible for relief. Any of the remaining 11.5 million undocumented immigrants who do not fall in the above categories likely would not qualify for relief." So these are actually tough provisions. And here's another important aspect of this. Immigrants granted deferred action, quote, "will be given Social Security numbers and required to pay taxes, but will not be eligible for Obamacare subsidies or most other government benefits." So think about that. What that means is this reform is going to boost GDP and it's going to cut the deficit because you have more people paying in taxes, but they don't get out any services. And I actually think that's pretty harsh. That's a little too harsh on the immigrants, if you ask me. But nonetheless, they're willing to take it because it's something, because it's a step in the right direction that allows them to be treated like actual human beings in the United States of America. I know, a radical idea. But as we just went through here, not only is this a very moderate reform, he's also saying very clearly this does not apply to people who haven't been here 5 years yet, and this does not apply to any criminals at all. Even if it's 3 misdemeanors that you did, you're not going to qualify for this. So we've excluded criminals. We've only made it basically long-term immigrants who've been here and kids who've been here and their families. And we're saying, hey, you work hard and you pay your taxes and you'll get a Social Security card, but that's it. You're not even going to get any other access to any other government programs. So again, cuts the deficit, boosts GDP. This is something that Republicans should be all over. Now, Obama did not act to help agricultural workers because he said very simply, I don't have the authority to do it. And he said his authority for the executive orders is very simple. It falls under prosecutorial discretion. So he's the head of all of the government agencies as the head of the executive branch, as the president. And he can tell the agencies to prioritize certain things, which is what he's doing with this executive order. And it's totally legal. It's totally acceptable. In fact, he is essentially copying what George H.W. Bush did and, more importantly, what Ronald Reagan did. And even Megyn Kelly, for example, who's been all over the president recently, she came out and said, well, he does have the authority to do this because of prosecutorial discretion. Even Dana Perino, who's even harsher than Megyn Kelly on the president, on the 5. She used to, of course, work for George W. Bush. She even said, yeah, this isn't unconstitutional. He does have the ability to do this. So that's all there is to your immigration reform. And understand, as Obama made clear as well, because people are screaming, well, what about border security? What about border security? Hello? That the Congress has to act on. Now, why? This is very important. Because all spending bills have to originate in the House. That's the way our country works. So, ironically, the one thing that they're screaming at Obama to do is the one thing that it would actually be unconstitutional for him to do. Meanwhile, everything else that they call unconstitutional is not unconstitutional. And look, it's been clear in all the articles about this. Obama made this clear. whatever they knew they didn't have the authority to do, they didn't do, which is why Obama wanted to take action on agricultural workers, but he had other people in the room, legal experts with him, and of course he's a constitutional lawyer as well, and he's like, well, I really can't act on that. That's not within my realm of authority. But what is within my realm of authority is what I prioritized and what I decided in the final summation what the executive order would be. So I like this overall. I do think that it's a little too harsh on immigrants. I think that if they're paying taxes, they should be able to get the benefits of paying taxes, and they should basically be considered citizens, even if they're just here, even if it's just temporary that they're considered citizens, and you give them a work permit, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a little too harsh on immigrants, but at the same time, I understand why Obama did it that way, because this is how you have a stone-cold argument against the right-wingers when they cry and yell and scream about how this is unconstitutional. You could easily trot out, well, wait a second, I did a lot of the policies that you guys favor. I did tough policies. They're paying taxes and they're not getting anything in return. How much tougher did you want me to be? And of course, he can fall back on the Ronald Reagan argument. Like, you guys are mad at me. Well, I guess you're mad at Ronald Reagan as well, because I'm just copying your saint.